And it's so much harder to take legislation away than it is to pass it. And so if he passes this legislation, by the time it actually gets through the court, by the time we actually can deal with what has happened, and by the time all of that's happened, the consequences will already be passed.
Now, can I ask you, what do you think about the Supreme Court election?
I think it's really important. I think that it's important that we push through and get Kloppenburg elected. Because
now, and you think Kloppenburg should be elected because?
Because Kloppenburg hasn't been openly supportive of Walker. And because I do think it's important to get a Democratic majority in there right now. Make a change, that the people bonded together can make a bigger change. So it holds accountability for both parties.
What was that to do with the court?
Well, the court, because we're electing a Democrat, and right now the Democrats
it's
are more
sympathetic.
It's a nonpartisan
election.
It's a nonpartisan, but someone who is more sympathetic to our cause.
Do you think that people should perceive Kloppenburg as a Democrat and put her on the court to try to?
Well, I think people should perceive her as more sympathetic to the cause of the people, because she's actually been really active in a lot of the.
But the idea of a judge and the cause of the people, that sounds sort of unjudicial to me.
Except that.
Shouldn't we put someone who's really dyed in the wool, a jurist, and who follows
someone
the
who
legal
follows
method?
the law? But the Republicans aren't following the law right now, and I want someone who's going to prosecute them for not following the law.
You think the Republicans should be prosecuted?
I think that they should be prosecuted for the crimes that they've committed.
What kind of crimes would you prosecute
Breaking
them for?
open meeting law, taking away the votes of the Democratic senators. That's illegal. That I have no representation in the Senate.
Back to the Kloppenburg thing. Do you think that people should vote for her because she's sort of assuring us that she'll strike down legislation that the majority
She
passes?
actually hasn't been assuring people of that. She's been trying to stay pretty neutral. I think people should vote for her looking at her history. I think that people should look at what they feel is important as a cause and see how she stands on those causes. I really think...
Well, why would a judge even speak in terms of causes?
Because they're going to rule based on what they perceive the law to be and what they perceive to be in their moral background. No one is actually...
Perceived to be in their moral background, what does that mean?
Well, I think that everyone comes from a different side and an issue. I think that everyone has a reason for believing what they believe. And I think that the most important thing is to find someone who can take what they believe and apply it in the most open and listen to the most people. I think one of the problems right now with things that are happening in the government is that people are coming from different backgrounds, and instead of trying to come to a compromise as a result of, I come from this background and I feel this way because of this, and this person, and I think that's how the government should be working.
But very specifically about the Supreme Court, do you think that if Kloppenburg made her pitch to the public in those terms, that she would be voted for, that she should be voted for? Or do you think people would find that actually quite appalling as a presentation of what a judge does?
Well, I don't think that she is putting it in those terms, so I think it's sort of a moot point at this point.
So, she should be over here acting like I'm the good
I think
judge,
that people can look at what she's done and see what they feel is important, and they should vote for her based on that. And I think that it really is important to get people out of office who won't listen to the people. I'm because one of the things the Republicans are trying to do right now,
including judges, out of office if they won't listen to the people.
Well, that's the whole point of the people's government, isn't it?
The whole point of the people's government under law
is to represent the people, and if they're not representing the people, then we should take the legal means necessary. I'm not talking about like a coup or overthrowing the government, but the legal steps that we have available to us.
So your idea of the law would include that the judges should pay attention to what the Democratic majority wants and decide cases according to what the real majority wants?
No, I think that the judges should pay attention to the law, and that they should make decisions based on that. And laws have been broken here, and we need someone who we know is not in the pocket of the people who's breaking them. And I don't trust that Prosser's not in the pocket of the people who've been breaking the law.
But the judges don't do the prosecutions. Prosecutors.
No, but they rule on it. In the Supreme Court, they rule on it. And we want someone who will rule in a way that I deem to be fair, and I'm not sure that he will. The one thing that he's had to say about the protests, and the one thing that he says shows that he's part of the people, is that he gave earplugs to the workers inside. He hasn't really done anything he hasn't said anything about
because he probably thinks he shouldn't be political.
But she hasn't been saying it. It's what she's been doing and what she's been involved with. And if you read articles on her, I don't have any examples off the top of my head, but I've been reading a lot of articles. And so I really think that I think it is important to get more of a Democratic majority in there, because the one problem,
the very idea of portraying it as a Democratic majority sounds political.
Now the court is 3-4 in Republicans' favor.
But that's actually an inappropriate way of talking about the court if you think about the court as being judicial.
Except that they do run on, which party they're more...
No, they don't. They haven't been allowed to say what party they're in. It's a nonpartisan election.
Well, I want to see someone in office who is more sympathetic to what the people want as opposed to what the money is saying. I don't want to see
Even
someone
calling it in office sounds unjudicial to me.
Well, I'm not totally versed in the judicial system, but
Well,
I think it's important.
people generally, I kind of am, but people generally, I think, if you look at the way they vote in the judicial elections, they actually care about judges seeming to be proper judges, deciding cases according to the law and not being political.
Yeah, but the Republicans are breaking the law right now, and I want someone who I know is not going to side with them.
Yeah, but it would be kind of breaking the law to be a judge that was political. I mean, that's kind of fundamental to
judges
separation of powers.
They vote based on what they feel is morally right on their political
Well,
backgrounds.
people do a lot of things they shouldn't do, and the idea of voting for the judge should be that we're voting for someone who will do it properly.
And I'm not confident that Prosser's that person.
There's nothing in Prosser's background that would indicate that he wasn't a good judge and that he wasn't deciding cases fairly according to the law.
According to the law, but it's according to his interpretation of the law, and I'm more comfortable with her interpretation of the law than I am with his.
I think to the average voter in Wisconsin, that would be regarded as inappropriately politicizing the judiciary.
I'm not sure that I would agree with you
So
there.
maybe you think that the people who think that are kind of naive about how courts really work.
No. I just think that this is an important election, and I think that choosing someone who I feel more comfortable with what they're saying is where I'm going to stand.
Okay, I gotta go find my husband.
All right.
Good luck.
Yep.